In my 35 years on the bench in Providence, Rhode Island, I thought I'd seen everything that could possibly walk through those courtroom doors. Traffic violations, parking tickets, people in their Sunday best, people in their work clothes still covered in paint or grease. I've welcomed them all with the same respect. But on this particular Tuesday morning, when my bailiff opened the door and I looked up from my paperwork, I saw something that made me blink twice, lean forward, and then do something I rarely do before we even start. I burst out laughing. Standing in my courtroom, shuffling nervously toward the defendant's table, was a full-grown man dressed head to toe as a giant hot dog. And I mean a complete hot dog costume. Bun, mustard stripe, relish, the works. My friends, if this story makes you smile, hit that like button, because what happened next taught me something beautiful about dignity, struggle, and the human spirit. Subscribe to see more stories from my courtroom where we try to do justice with compassion. I compose myself, clearing my throat, but I can't stop the grin spreading across my face. Inspector Quinn is standing beside me, and when I glance at him, I see he's biting his lip, trying desperately not to laugh. The gallery behind the defendant is buzzing with whispers and a few poorly suppressed chuckles. But here's what I notice immediately. What 35 years of looking into people's faces teaches you, underneath that ridiculous foam hot dog bun, through the mesh screen where his face shows, I see something that isn't funny at all. I see embarrassment. I see shame. I see the face of a man who's been beaten down by life and is now standing in front of a judge dressed as processed meat, and he knows exactly how absurd it looks. Good morning, I say, keeping my voice warm but professional. I have to ask, and forgive me, I've been doing this for 35 years, and I've never had to ask this before. Why are you dressed as a hot dog in my courtroom? The man's voice comes out muffled through the costume. Your Honor, I'm so sorry. I came straight from work. I couldn't afford to miss my shift, and I couldn't afford to miss this court date either. I work as a promotional hot dog outside Sal's Deli on Federal Hill, and if I'd gone home to change, I would have been late. Something in his voice, the genuine distress, the apology that sounds like it comes from his soul, it stops my smile cold. I lean back in my chair and really look at this man. The costume is worn, slightly dirty around the bottom where it drags on sidewalks. His sneakers, visible beneath the foam, are held together with duct tape. This isn't a joke. This isn't someone trying to be cute or get viral fame. This is a man working a humiliating job, probably for minimum wage, who's so desperate not to lose a single hour's pay that he came to court dressed as lunch meat. What's your name? I asked gently. Marcus Thompson, Your Honor. And what brings you to my courtroom today, Mr. Thompson? Inspector Quinn hands me the file and I review it quickly. 3 unpaid parking tickets totaling $475 with late fees. The tickets span 6 months. The car is registered to Marcus Thompson, an address in South Providence. I look up at Marcus, still standing there in his hot dog costume, and I ask him the question I always ask, the one that usually reveals the real story. Let me ask you something, Marcus. Tell me what's happening in your life. Why haven't these tickets been paid? And here's where it happens, my friends. The moment that transforms a courtroom from a place of judgment into a place of understanding. Marcus takes a breath, and his whole foam-encased body seems to deflate. Before I tell you what he said, let me remind you, if these stories touch your heart, leave a comment below about a time someone showed you mercy when you needed it most. Your stories matter to me. Your Honor, I lost my job 14 months ago. I was a machinist at a factory in Cranston. Good job, benefits, 22 years. They closed the plant, moved production to Mexico. I'm 53 years old. Nobody wants to hire a 53-year-old machinist when they can get someone younger for less money. I've applied to 217 jobs. I keep count. I get interviews. They go well. Then nothing. My unemployment ran out. My wife works at a nursing home, overnight shifts, but it's not enough. We have 2 kids still at home. One's a senior in high school. The other's got special needs, requires medications that cost a fortune even with insurance. I'm listening, really listening, the way my father taught me to listen. He came to this country from Italy with nothing, worked until his hands bled, and he always said, Francesco, everybody's got a story. You got to listen to the story. So I listen as Marcus continues. The hot dog job, I know it's ridiculous, Your Honor, and I'm embarrassed, but it's money. $20 an hour to stand on a street corner in a costume waving at cars. It's honest work, and I'm grateful for it, but some weeks I make maybe $200-300. By the time rent's paid, by the time the medications are bought, by the time we eat, and we eat simple, Your Honor, rice and beans most nights, there's nothing left. These parking tickets, they're from when I was trying to find work, running to interviews. I'd feed the meter what I could, but sometimes I didn't have quarters. Sometimes I was so focused on getting to the interview on time that I forgot. And then the tickets came and the late fees piled up, and now it's almost $500, and I just don't have it. I don't have it. His voice cracks on those last words. I see his shoulders shake slightly under the foam bun. A man dressed as a hot dog, crying in my courtroom, and my heart is breaking. I glance at the prosecutor, a good man named Robert Chen, who's been in my courtroom 100 times. He's looking down at his papers, and I know that look. He's moved too. He's thinking about his own father, his own struggles, the humanity we all share. I look back at Marcus. You said you have a child with special needs. Tell me about that. My daughter Emily, she's 16. She has cerebral palsy and epilepsy. She's in a wheelchair. She's the light of my life, Your Honor. Brightest smile you've ever seen. Loves music, knows every song on the radio. But the medications to control her seizures, they cost $600 a month even after insurance. If she doesn't get them, she has seizures. I've watched my baby girl have a seizure, and I'd rather die than let that happen because I couldn't pay for medicine. So the medicine comes first, always, before tickets, before everything. I have to pause. I look down at my bench, at the file in front of me, at the seal of providence that represents justice. What is justice here? Is it making this man pay $500 he doesn't have? Is it punishing poverty? Is it enforcing the letter of the law while ignoring the spirit of mercy? I think about my own children, my own grandchildren. What if that was my daughter who needed medication? What wouldn't I do? What humiliation wouldn't I endure? Marcus, I say, and my voice is softer now. You're working as a promotional hot dog. You came here straight from that job in costume because you couldn't afford to miss work. That tells me something about your character. You didn't skip this court date. You didn't ignore it. You showed up literally in a hot dog costume because you respect the law and you're trying to do the right thing. Am I correct? Yes, Your Honor. I always try to do right. My mama raised me that way. God bless his mama. God bless all the mamas who raise good people who fall on hard times. Share this video if you believe good people deserve second chances. Inspector Quinn, I say, has Mr. Thompson been in this court before? Quinn checks the computer system. No, Your Honor. Clean record. Not even a traffic violation beyond these parking tickets. 53 years old, first time in court, standing in a hot dog costume because he's working whatever job he can get to feed his family and buy medicine for his disabled daughter. This is America, my friends. Not the America we see on television with the mansions and the luxury cars, but the real America where people work until they break, where medical bills destroy families, where a good man who gave 22 years to a factory finds himself waving at traffic dressed as lunch meat. I make my decision. I've made thousands of decisions from this bench, but the ones I remember, the ones that matter, are the ones where I can help someone who's genuinely trying. Mr. Thompson, let me tell you what I'm going to do. These parking tickets, they're legitimate. The city has rules. Meters need to be fed. Revenue needs to be collected for city services. I can't just ignore the law. I took an oath. But I took another oath too, an oath to myself and to God, that I would treat people with dignity and mercy when they deserve it. You, sir, deserve it. I watch Marcus's face through the mesh of the costume. His eyes are locked on mine, desperate, hopeful. I'm going to dismiss these tickets, all of them. You don't owe the city of Providence a single penny. The courtroom erupts. The gallery behind Marcus bursts into applause. Marcus himself makes a sound, something between a sob and a gasp, and his foam-covered hands come up to his face. Inspector Quinn is smiling, nodding his approval. Even Prosecutor Chen looks relieved. But I'm not done. I hold up my hand for quiet. However, I want something from you, Marcus. I want you to promise me that you'll keep trying. Keep applying for those jobs. Keep being a good father to your children. Keep taking care of your Emily. And I want you to remember something. There's no shame in honest work. You hear me? No shame. You're wearing a hot dog costume to earn money legally to feed your family. That's not shameful. That's noble. That's heroic. Don't ever let anyone make you feel small because of how you earn your living. Marcus is openly crying now. Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you. God bless you. God bless you, Marcus. Now let me ask you something else, and this is off the record. Just one man to another. Are you getting help finding work? Have you been to the state employment office? Have you looked into retraining programs? I've been to the employment office, but Your Honor, most retraining programs, they take time, and during that time I wouldn't be earning. We can't make it without something coming in every week. I nod. I understand. It's the trap of poverty. You can't afford to invest in the future because the present is consuming you. But I've been doing this for 35 years, and I built relationships in this community. I know people. Inspector Quinn, get me the number for Tom Marchetti at the Maritime Union. They've been looking for experienced people for the port expansion project. And call Maria Santos at the Workforce Development Center. She's got connections with manufacturers who value experience. I look back at Marcus. I'm going to have my office make some calls. I can't promise anything, but I know people who know people. We're going to try to get you something better than waving at cars in a sausage suit. Fair enough? Marcus can barely speak. Your Honor, I don't know what to say. Say you'll follow up. Say you'll work hard. Say you'll keep being the good man and father you clearly are. That's all I need to hear. I promise, Your Honor. I swear on my children. If this story is touching your heart, hit that subscribe button. These are the stories from my courtroom that I want to share with the world. Stories of real people, real struggles, and the power of compassion. As Marcus turns to leave, still in his hot dog costume, something beautiful happens. People in the gallery, people waiting for their own cases, strangers who just witnessed this moment, they start reaching into their pockets and purses. A woman in the front row pulls out a $20 bill. A man behind her adds another 20. They start passing money forward to Marcus, and I watch his face cycle through disbelief, embarrassment, and overwhelming gratitude. Your Honor, Marcus says, turning back to me, I can't accept this. Marcus, I say firmly, when people want to help, you let them help. You accept the kindness, you say thank you, and someday when you're back on your feet, you pass it forward. That's how community works. That's how we survive, together. He accepts the money, his hands shaking, thanking each person. By the time he reaches the courtroom door, there's probably $200 in his hot dog hands. As he leaves, he turns back one more time. Even through the costume, I see his dignity restored. He stands straighter. He nods to me with respect, and I nod back. When the door closes behind him, Inspector Quinn leans over. Judge, that was something special. No, I say. That was something necessary. That was what we should do every time we can. But here's what I didn't know, my friends, what I only found out months later. That moment, that exchange in my courtroom, someone in the gallery recorded it on their phone. They posted it on social media. Within days, it had been viewed millions of times. The comment section filled with thousands of people sharing their own stories of struggle, their own moments of humiliation while trying to make ends meet. But here's the miraculous part. A business owner in Massachusetts saw the video. He owned a manufacturing plant, and he was so moved by Marcus's story that he tracked him down through the Providence court system and offered him a job, a real job, a machinist position with benefits, paying $28 an hour. Marcus sent me a letter 3 months after his court appearance. He wrote, Dear Judge Caprio, I wanted you to know that my life has changed. I got the job from the video, and I've been working there for 2 months now. We're catching up on bills. Emily's medications are covered. My son is getting ready for college. I threw away the hot dog costume. I don't need it anymore. But I kept the mesh face piece because I want to remember that feeling of standing in your courtroom, terrified and embarrassed, and having you see me not as a joke or a failure, but as a human being worthy of dignity. You changed my life, Your Honor. You gave me more than dismissing tickets. You gave me hope, and hope changes everything. God bless you. Marcus Thompson. I keep that letter in my desk drawer. When I have a difficult day, when I face a case that challenges me, when I wonder if what I do matters, I read that letter. It reminds me why I show up every morning. It reminds me that behind every file, every case number, every parking ticket and traffic violation, there's a human being with a story, with struggles, with dreams that haven't died yet. You see, my friends, justice isn't just about following the rules. Justice is about understanding that rules exist to serve humanity, not the other way around. The law is important. I devoted my life to it. But the law must be tempered with mercy, with compassion, with the understanding that we're all one bad. Break away from standing in that courtroom ourselves, desperate for someone to see us, really see us, and help. My father used to tell me a story from the old country. He said there was a judge in his village who was famous for his fairness. One day, a poor farmer was brought before him for stealing bread. The baker demanded justice. The judge listened to both sides, and then he made his ruling. He fined the farmer 1 loaf of bread for his crime. Then he turned to everyone in the courtroom and fined each of them 1 loaf of bread for living in a village where a man had to steal to eat. That's the kind of justice I try to practice. Justice that asks bigger questions, that examines systems and circumstances, that remembers we're all connected. When Marcus walked into my courtroom dressed as a hot dog, the easy thing would have been to laugh at him, to treat him as a spectacle, to enforce the letter of the law without considering his circumstances. But that's not justice. That's just bureaucracy. Real justice requires us to look deeper, to ask questions, to listen to the stories that people carry like heavy weights on their shoulders. I've been blessed in my life. I've had good health, mostly, despite some challenges. I've had a loving family. I've had opportunities. But I never forget that luck and circumstance play a role in all of our lives. I could have been Marcus. You could have been Marcus. Any of us could find ourselves one factory closing, one medical crisis, one stroke of bad fortune away from standing in a hot dog costume, trying to hold on to dignity while the world laughs. That's why these moments matter. That's why I share these stories. Because in a world that can be harsh and judgmental, where people are too quick to condemn and too slow to understand, we need reminders of our shared humanity. We need to see that the man in the ridiculous costume is someone's father, someone's husband, someone's son, and he deserves to be treated with respect. Tell me in the comments, have you ever been in a situation where someone showed you compassion when you expected judgment? Share your story. Your experience might help someone else feel less alone. I think about Marcus often. I imagine him at his new job, using skills he thought the world no longer wanted, earning a living wage, going home to his family without the weight of impossible choices crushing him. I imagine his daughter Emily getting her medications without her parents lying awake at night wondering how they'll pay for them. I imagine his son applying to colleges with hope instead of guilt. That's what one moment of compassion can do. It doesn't just change a day, it changes a trajectory. It changes a family's future. People sometimes ask me, especially after these videos go viral, if I'm worried about being too soft, about people taking advantage of my compassion. My answer is always the same. In 35 years, I've been fooled maybe a handful of times, but I've helped hundreds, maybe thousands of people who genuinely needed help. If the price of helping 1,000 people is being fooled by 5, that's a price I'll pay gladly. I'd rather err on the side of mercy than on the side of harshness. Marcus wasn't trying to fool anyone. He showed up in a hot dog costume not as a gimmick, but as evidence of his desperation and his determination. He could have not shown up at all, could have let the tickets go to warrant, could have avoided the embarrassment, but he came. He faced the music dressed as processed meat because he was trying to do the right thing even when everything in his life was going wrong. That's courage, my friends. That's character. And character deserves to be rewarded, not punished. As I close today's story, I want to leave you with this thought. We all have power to change someone's day, maybe even someone's life. It doesn't require a judge's robe or a courtroom. It requires only that we see each other, truly see each other, beyond the costumes we wear, whether they're made of foam or made of pride, whether they're uniforms we put on for work or masks we wear to hide our pain. When we see each other as fellow humans, struggling and striving and trying our best, compassion becomes not just possible but inevitable. Hit that like button if you believe in second chances. Subscribe to this channel to see more stories from my courtroom where we try to balance justice with mercy. And share this video with someone who needs to be reminded that kindness still exists in the world, that dignity can be restored, that one moment of compassion can change everything. God bless you all. Take care of yourselves and each other. And remember, we're all in this together. The next time you see someone struggling, someone who looks ridiculous or desperate or down on their luck, ask yourself, what would I want someone to do if that was me? Then do that. That's justice. That's mercy. That's humanity. Marcus Thompson walked into my courtroom as a hot dog and walked out as a man restored. Not because I'm special, but because I remembered what my father taught me. Everybody's got a story. You got to listen to the story. I listened, and it changed both of us. What am I going to do with you, Marcus? I'm going to help you. That's what I'm going to do. That's what I'll always try to do. God bless you, my friend. God bless you all.